it was senior year of high school. We were just kind of sitting there in class that morning, and the principal came over the PA system, said that the World Trade Center had been attacked, and then a couple minutes later, all the classroom TVs came on to, automatically pull in the news, and we kind of watched the rest of it unfold on live TV. I think by then the other tower had been hit. They kind of turned the TVs off after big so that we were going to see everything else that went down, the towers falling, things like that. But yeah, we ended up cutting classes short, having a big assembly at the end of the day to kind of go over it and things like that.
September 11th, 2001, I was in Kentucky working. I was working for Marathon Oil as a computer geek, essentially, installing some new computers in an office. And I was going about my day, and it came on the news, and just kind of everybody from the office gathered around the TV and just watched for 5 or 10 minutes when the first plane hit. And sort of, I didn't feel like there was anything I could do by standing there watching it on the TV, so for lack of anything else to do, I went back and continued plugging in computers and that sort of thing, and then whatever it was, 5 or 10 minutes later, the second plane hit, and at least that clarified some things as far as, was this an accident or an attack or whatever, and kind of the same thing. Kind of had nothing else I could do except go back to work, and kind of curious what was going to happen next, and kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Fortunately, it never really did in the same way. But that's it. Certainly had that flashbulb memory of seeing it there, surrounded by strangers in an unusual city. But
September 11th, 2001, I was a visiting nurse, and I remember I was at a patient's house, and I even remember what her name was. I'll give you her first name. Her first name was Rose. And we had the television on. She was watching the Today Show, and at the time, Brian Gumbel was one of the hosts, and it was about 8:45. And I was at her bedside talking with her, and then all of a sudden, we just happened to look at the television set, and we saw what was going on, and didn't know if it was something, a movie, a tape, or exactly what was going on. But then when we saw that it was almost, I think it was like live footage, and Brian Gumbel interrupted and said what was going on, we just sort of like looked at each other and really didn't say anything at all to each other. I just continued with my visit and went on from there. And I know I tried to call some other patients, and I tried calling your father, my husband, and I couldn't get through to these people or to my husband because phone lines were affected. So I completed my day, and I got home, and also during the day I was thinking about both of you because you were both in school. You were in, I believe, 4th grade at the time, and Dana was in 2nd grade. And I was just concerned about the two of you and your safety, because just wanted to make sure everything was okay. And then when you got home, I was glad that everybody was home and safe, and we watched the news on TV. We watched all that together. So, but I was just glad that all of us got home safely, and we were all together.
When I first heard it happen, I was actually sitting in computer class. I was in 8th grade at the time, and I remember sitting there thinking like it had to be some kind of hoax, like Orson Welles' War of the Worlds. We didn't have TV in that room, and so we were listening on the radio, and it was just really strange. It was very surreal, and it was very scary and terrifying. Watching the teacher was very unsettling because of how emotional she was, and we just didn't understand what was actually happening. And it was just something that just kind of you don't really forget about either.
Well, my memory is that my brothers and sister and I were playing on a golf course in Michigan called the Legacy, and we had just finished our 18 holes of golf, and we came in to leave, and we went up to the counter and we saw everybody watching TV. And when we saw it on TV, we really couldn't believe it, what was happening. We didn't think it was real. And we asked everybody what was happening, and they told us what was happening. We still couldn't believe it. It just didn't seem real. So we normally go out to lunch, but we all headed home because we wanted to watch it on TV and see what was really
The most
happening.
clear memory I have is I was sitting in senior calculus, and it was in the basement of my high school, and an announcer came over the loudspeaker and said that a plane had hit the World Trade Center, and we really had no idea what that meant. We just kind of looked at each other and continued on with class. And I remember going upstairs, and I had government next. And I sat down, and my government teacher was a very, very passionate man, and passionate about what he taught, passionate about life, passionate about the Lord, just very passionate. And he had a big projector screen, and he was playing the news. And we just sat there and watched it in silence. And I will never forget watching the second tower completely crumble. And I had no idea what that meant at the time. I didn't know the impact that it had. I didn't know, and none of us knew how significant that was. But I remember thinking, this can't be real. It's like a movie. It just crumbled. And I will never forget watching that happen and watching the people jump off. I will remember that forever.